Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today I have another book review for you, and it is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E Harrow. So I borrowed this book from my mum. I'm going up to see them soon, so I needed to finish it. And it was pretty good. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. And it has so many good reviews on the back. It has things like Christina Herry, best-selling author of Alice, says a gorgeous aching love letter to stories. Tamora Pierce, New York Times best-selling author, says one of the most unique works of fiction I've ever read. Melissa Albert, New York Times best-selling author, says devastatingly good, a sharp nested tale of worlds within worlds, stories within stories, and the realm-cracking power of words. We also have Matthew Sylvan, author of Midnight at the Bright Ideas Bookstore. Every page of this smart, heartfelt expedition celebrates an abiding love of stories. Readers are going to relish every sentence. Inside, it has a purple bookbind there, which is gorgeous. I love it, and obviously I can't say that's not why my mum picked it up, because her favorite color is purple, but it could be. As always, before we get into this book review, I will read you guys the blurb. Every story opens a door. In a sprawling mansion filled with peculiar treasures, January Scala is a curiosity herself. As the ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke, she feels little different from the artifacts that decorate the halls, carefully maintained, largely ignored, and utterly out of place. But her quiet existence is shattered when she stumbles across a strange book, a book that carries the scent of other worlds and tells a tale of secret doors, of love, adventure, and danger. Each page reveals more impossible truths about the world, and January discovers a story increasingly entwined with her own. Step into the world of January Scala in Alix E Harrow's spellbinding debut. Before I review this book, don't forget, if you like what you see, to subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. Your continuous support means a lot, so thank you guys so much. As always, I'm going to do spoiler free first, then I'll give you a spoiler alert warning before I go into anything that could be spoilers, and let you know what time you can skip to if you want to avoid these. First of all, female power. I really enjoyed how this book, the women just get on with it. They are not mommy cuddled. They do not obey the rules. They literally see a problem and deal with it, which is really refreshing to read, because there aren't necessarily that many fantasy books that do this. Obviously, I know now it's getting better, but it's really good to see it so openly written in this book. On page 22, there's a quote I would love to share with you guys. Those of you who are more casually familiar with books, those of you who spend your free afternoons in fusty bookshops who offer furtive, kindly strokes along the spines of familiar titles, understand that page rifling is an essential element in the process of introducing oneself to a new book. It isn't about reading the words, it's about reading the smell, which wafts from the pages in a cloud of dust and wood pulp. It might smell expensive and well-bound, or it might smell of tissue-thin paper and blurred two-colour prints, or 50 years unread in the home of a tobacco-smoking old man. Books can smell of cheap thrills or painstaking scholarship, of literary weight or unsolved mystery. I adored this part because I don't know about the rest of you book lovers, but I definitely smell books. There's just something about the way books smell. Other book readers, do you guys do this, or am I seriously just weird? This book deals with the old-fashioned ideas of society, specifically that women are meant to be seen and not heard. And at the beginning of this book, our protagonist, January Scala, is definitely in this category. She is told to be quiet, she is dressed up to the hilt like a doll, and she hates it. But we can see from this book that although she hates it and inside she feels terrible, her father doesn't like it, the society that she is in loves it, which is the time period that this book is written, but it does hide some hidden secrets, and there's actually a lot of foreshadowing in this book. On page 63, I have another quote to share with you. It is one that just made me laugh so much. This is January Scala, who is our protagonist. The book is written from her point of view. She is telling you her story, and this is her description of the townspeople. The townspeople, who weren't really townspeople at all, but more a collection of feral persons who lived on farms just as isolated and distant as the Larsons families, who congregated only for auctions, funerals, and God. I just love how she refers to them as a feral people. It is so much fun. I haven't read a book which refers to townsfolk in that way before. In this book, January is gifted a book and she reads about a woman called Aid. On page 102, it's fantastic. Aid is a woman who runs away from home to find her lost love. On the way, she obviously grows a little. And on page 102 is a fantastic quote which just describes how she has grown very well. In this way, Aid suffered precisely the sort of fall from grace her aunts and grandmother most feared, and in so doing made a discovery. Fallen women are afforded a species of freedom. We all know what a fallen woman is in this time and period. She's obviously met some guy and had sex and had a wonderful time, and in doing so is no longer held to account by society to be a type of woman. She has fallen, therefore society can basically forget her, which in itself is horrible abandonment, but in another way, if no one's expecting anything, you don't have to please anyone. A difference in here as well. So January's story, when it is from her point of view, is written in first person. She is telling you her story, but the book that she is reading and the book about Aid is written in the third person, so it is someone else telling that story. Who is telling that story? So something that I didn't quite enjoy about this book is its use of footnotes. Personally, and this is a very personal thing, I don't enjoy footnotes in books that much. I find they pull me out of the story, and generally it's information that I might not need to know about. It's often just an author trying to be witty or funny. I know Terry Pratchett, who I adore, uses a lot of footnotes. However, it's not my favourite bit of the writing. But on page 138, I found the first footnote I actually enjoyed in this book. Cats, I have found, seem to exist in more or less the same form in every world. It is my belief that they have been slipping in and out of doors for several thousand years. Anyone familiar with house cats will know this is a particular hobby of theirs. If you've watched my video on my Cat Mad book review, if you haven't, the link is above me now, you'll know how I feel about cats, and therefore this footnote did tickle me a bit. Alright, I'm now going to say spoiler alert, guys. I'm going to do a few more quotes, but by doing so they will tell a bit more of the story. If you just want to see my overall book review and go into a bit more nitty gritty on the writing style, then skip to this time here. If, however, you have read the book or you just don't mind spoilers, then stay tuned. I'll say again, spoiler alert. So, page 149, I have definitely worked out by this point that the book is written about Aid, who is January's mother, and it is her father who has written the book. You also know by page 149 that something is going to happen to this couple, which is why January didn't know her mum and why the dad is never there. And the telling part of that is at the very end of that chapter, it says they were never willingly parted again. The word willingly is exactly telling you that they are going to be parted again, but it was not by choice, which is a good level of intrigue. Up to this point, I must say, I'm not gripped by this book. I adore the writing style. The story is really intricate. It does remind me a little of Robin Hobb, where you know the world and you know the characters inside out, but you don't necessarily know you're gripped or into the story by this point. On page 158, some obvious writing, and yet also it hides the truth. So on page 158, Havamere, who is this vampiric guy, he feeds off the heat of others, so when he touches you, he is ice cold and you will feel dread and you will go cold. He basically beats up Bad, and as far as January is aware, kills Bad, who is January's dog. There is a famous writing tool, which is if you want to make a villain, have them kick a dog. People have high empathy for animals, so if you want someone to be definitely the villain, kick a dog, there you go, you have a villain. But what is fun is that Alix E Harrow, she uses this technique, but sort of flips it. Yes, Havamere is a villain, but they are not the main villain in this book. But by having them basically kick the dog, she has led you away from the true villain of the story, which is also really good because it is from January's point of view. It kind of shows her feelings as well, because the actual true villain, she would struggle to see as a villain, and obviously does struggle until the very end of the book. On page 232, I have another quote which I just loved for you. This is in one of the chapters from the book that January is reading that her father wrote about her mother and their life together. What would your mother have done, I wonder? one imagines a great deal more noise and disruption and perhaps a body count. I adored this because it's not doing the traditional gender norms either. Her father is a scholar, he reads books, he is quite soft-hearted and a gentle person. The mother is calloused hands, rough as hell, goes at it. And I just love how those roles have swapped. It's just a refreshing read and also describes her character perfectly before you even really know her. On page 233, Ade's character is described even further by a specific word choice. The quote that word is in is, "It is not necessary to recount the full story of our meeting here, but only to note that she is one of the most fearless and casually violent persons I have ever met." I love the use of the word casually here. So she's not a violent person. However, she can casually slip into it if the need arises. Again, a perfect description and a way to show a character without a long list of telling. If you've come back from the spoiler-free part, welcome back. Let's continue. I have a last part of the book I wish to discuss. On page 241, which is this point here in the book, this is where, for me, January's story begins. And this is partly why I think this book didn't grip me. All of this is basically backstory and world building, which does read very well. Whilst you're reading it, it's fun, but it didn't make me want to read it all the time. If I put the book down, I didn't think about the book later. It didn't make me need to sit and finish reading. But this is why the writing style reminds me of Robin Hobb. If you've ever read Robin Hobb's fantasy books, they are very detailed. You know the character and the worlds inside out. And like this one, it kind of feels like this as you're reading it. Before the characters get going on their quest or their adventure, you need to read a lot about them and read a lot of their normal everyday life. And this is not bad writing because you really feel like you know the characters and you will remember them. However, it is not grippy thriller writing, but these books are not trying to be a thriller. But it's just so you're aware, if you read it, this is where January's story, for me, begins. Another thing that Alix E Harrow does really well is you really get to know the characters, and her characterization is superb. She does this by writing in first person from the protagonist's point of view, but also because she has a lot of introspection. Everything January does, she later thinks about and reflects on. She has ways of describing things, and the way the story goes, she is writing as she doesn't know what is going to happen. She doesn't know who the villains are. However, after you've read it, you can see the foreshadowing in there and also see how she has managed to avert your attention from the true villains. The climax of the book, where she finds out who the villain is really heart-wrenching because there is also love there, which is an interesting way to write it and a really interesting characterization. However, there isn't that much pushing the story forward. I was never gripped. However, Matt did say that he was gripped by it and couldn't put it down. But for me, I think I'd already worked it out by some points and it therefore didn't keep me going as much. Overall, I did really enjoy this book. I would recommend reading it. It is very easy. The world feels safe, even though it's not safe, as January Scholar finds out. As the reader, it feels quite safe. You're definitely reading it away from the action. So if you're looking for something light, definitely read this book. I really did enjoy it. It is very well written. For me, it didn't grip me, but that is just my own personal opinion. I would give this book 9 out of 10 stars. It's very original, very refreshing. I love the powerhouse women. I love the can-do, get on with the attitude. It just didn't grip me. Hey, you can't win them all. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like what you see. If you did enjoy this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. I post general bookish pictures, as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!